Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Wyatt from the Records Management team, and today I'm going to go over how to handle legal holds on your records. First, I have a few quick announcements for you. So, at the time of recording this training, we do not yet have a scheduled date for our fall Public Records Commission meeting, but we are aiming for sometime early October. What that means for you is that you should aim to have any requests for new or revised RDAs submitted to us on our web app by early September if you want them to be ready for the PRC meeting later this year. We will send out emails with further information about the PRC meeting and any days leading up to it as soon as we have them. Depending on when that is, you may already have those emails by the time this training goes out. Anyone is welcome to attend the PRC meeting, and while we recommend that those who have RDAs on the agenda attend, the attendance is not required for those RDAs to go through. I also want to say that if your agency has not had an in-person assessment of physical records from our team sometime in the last 4 to 5 years, please reach out to your records analyst to schedule one. We've hit most of the agencies on our list in the last 2 or 3 years, but we're trying to make sure we get everyone, and there's a few who still haven't had a visit from us. These assessments will help identify ways to improve your business practices when handling records, and they're a good way to ensure that your agency is running efficiently and ready for a records audit. We are not audit. We are here to help you improve your systems so that you are okay when an audit does happen. We recommend regular assessments of everyone's office at least every 5 years, and we're happy to perform additional assessments, including visits to field offices if you like. Please reach out to your records analyst to learn more or to schedule an assessment. Now let's get into our training today. So first off, what is a legal hold? You can loosely think of a legal hold as being a stipulation that prevents the destruction of relevant records until certain conditions are met. Legal holds do prevent any destruction of any involved records, even if the RDA for those records would normally allow for destruction. If you have an RDA that says a record must be kept for 5 years after it was created, and it's been there 10 years, if there's a legal hold saying that you can't destroy it, it doesn't matter that the RDA says it's ready for destruction. The legal hold makes you keep it. Any records that have already been destroyed appropriately to their RDA will not be affected by a new legal hold. So this is one more reason to follow the destruction schedule specified in your RDAs. That record that's 5 years past its retention, if you had destroyed it when you were supposed to, would you not be expected to have that under the legal hold? But now that the legal hold is in and you still have it, now you have to keep it. So every legal hold has a process to keep track of what records fall under the legal hold and to prevent them from being destroyed. Every agency should have a legal team or division that is able to create, acknowledge, and track any legal holds on your agency's records. Any records officers or management teams in an agency should work closely with these legal teams to ensure the legal holds are upheld. Records that are identified to be under a legal hold must be secured regardless of the format they take, which can be anything from sticky notes to CDs to microfilm to PDFs, even floppy disks if you've got them. No matter what format the records are under, they must be maintained until the legal hold expires. So you'll have several partners working with you on legal holds when they happen. Your general counsel or legal team is typically who's going to communicate the legal hold to the rest of your agency. You also hear from your information services team or STS. Human resources usually is involved. Of course, the divisions that are specifically targeted by a legal hold will be involved. The records officers and any staff involved in the destruction of records have to work with a number of these groups. You should make sure that any records are always managed well while accounted for, but more so if they're under a legal hold. Always be in communication with your general counsel about these records. Any vendor partners or HR, your records analyst here and Secretary of State's Records Management Division can also help you if you have any questions about records that are held under a legal hold. And if you have a significant legal hold, we like to be kept in the loop. So how does a legal hold get established? Well, once an employee learns of some potential litigation, a public records request, or an audit, you should notify your supervisor. We like to make sure everyone is constantly aware of any changes to our business practices like that might affect how we handle our records or go about our business. The supervisor who is responsible for communicating this information to the general counsel will do so and make sure that the word gets around, and they will further assess the situation. The general counsel will be closely monitoring the situation for the duration of the legal hold or the litigation, and if necessary, will issue a legal hold on any records that are relevant that the agency is currently holding. If the general counsel does issue a legal hold, they will specify exactly what records are being targeted and the conditions for lifting the legal hold, so you'll know what is covered and when it is no longer covered. If a legal hold is issued, this news should be shared with all employees who handle any records affected by the legal hold immediately, and it should also be shared with all of the partners listed on the previous slide. That's any affected divisions, that's your HR team, and any vendor partners. And just drop us an email too to make sure that we know that there's legal hold happening. So if you're an employee who is made aware of a new legal hold, the first thing you need to determine is what is the scope of that hold. You need to know exactly what is covered under it and what that means for you. You need to determine both what types of records are covered by the legal hold, and the date range of those records is typically going to be the defining parameter. They'll say, we have a legal hold on records under so-and-so RDA for a date range of this year to this year, usually. Most legal holds are only going to apply to records created within that certain time frame. They rarely will you see a legal hold that covers all RDAs of a certain type or RDA. It'll almost always be within a certain specific time frame. You should review the retention guidelines of all affected record series, which can be found in the RDAs that pertain to those records. You can always check our website where we have a running list of all active RDAs and ask any questions if you see something you don't understand on those. Next, you should identify which business units or divisions or vendor partners are affected by this legal hold, because they have to be notified, and they have to be notified in writing. This is to protect you so that they can't come back later and say, oh, we destroyed records because we didn't know about the legal hold. Get it in writing and save a copy of it yourself so that nobody can say that they weren't told. Emails and electronic messages that can be saved are acceptable forms of notice. Just keep a copy that you've sent it. Every potential source of the materials covered in the legal hold should also be examined to ensure that all necessary records are receiving the proper attention. Sometimes the legal hold will come down and new records that qualify for the legal hold are still being produced. You need to make sure that those are also treated like the existing records under the legal hold. Okay, once you have identified the scope of the legal hold and profiled what kinds of records it applies to, it's time to identify what records your agency is currently retaining that fit this scope. You should include records that are in every format, whether it's physical or electronic. It can be microfilm, it can be CDs, it can be paper, it doesn't matter. If the legal hold assists it, the format is relevant. You need to identify both the locations and storage media of these records, which means where the records are kept and how they are kept. If they're paper and they're in a building, you need to know, are they in a file cabinet? Are they locked in a storage room? If they're electronic, you need to know, okay, is this saved on a shared drive or is this on microfilm somewhere? You should be able to determine whether any relevant records are paper, electronic, or any other format, and where they are kept, and also know who may have access to the relevant materials. Records that are under a legal hold are especially important for this because you need to know who has access to records that cannot be destroyed. Anyone with access to these records is going to need to be made especially aware of any active legal holds pertaining to them. Okay, so here we have a large list of many common types of records, and they can all be included under legal holds if the hold pertains to records kept in these formats. Not every legal hold is going to cover records that are stored in every one of these formats, but you can use this list as a checklist for some of the more common types of records that have their retention extended by legal holds. Some of these records formats, especially emails, calls, and voicemails, may be on a system of automatic deletion after a period of time based on the policies set up by your agency. These are especially in need of being checked when a legal hold comes down. If you receive records in this way, it is always very important to save them elsewhere according to the appropriate RDA. Because if you don't, then they will be automatically deleted after a set period, typically 90 days for emails. And if a legal hold is in place, that would be in violation of the legal hold, so you need to save that somewhere. Please also note that any existing duplicate copies of records that are under a legal hold must be retained even though they are copies that still apply. Just because you have saved the information on an email somewhere, if the legal hold applies to the email too, you need to save it as well. These legal holds that are going to affect all your paper, all your digital documents. They can potentially affect calendars and network drives, graphic files, even metadata and cloud-based storage, all kinds of things. Just run down this checklist and know that there are also record types that are not on this checklist that can apply. Just make sure you know. Okay, now that we have identified the scope, contents, and all affected parties of the legal hold, it's time to issue the official notices for the legal hold. The identification and notice process should be done as soon as possible to halt the destruction of records. You can't have a legal hold come down and then wait a month to tell people about it. You need to issue that as soon as possible. We recommend that you notify employees who are handling records if the records might be under a legal hold soon, so that they are aware and prepared to pause the destruction schedules. Even if a legal hold hasn't officially come down, just mention to them, hey, we're looking at such and such, and we might be expecting a legal hold soon. That way, if it comes down, they already know, okay, we're going to stop all destruction. Official notice of legal holds must be sent out to all appropriate parties as soon as that information is available. Again, that's going to include all specifically affected divisions. It's going to include your IT or STS, and records officers and related staff are also going to need to be told about that. And once again, drop us an email to let us know. If the legal hold is very large or complex in scope, it may also be prudent to arrange a meeting with these parties in the general counsel's office who oversees the legal hold, so that they can go into more detail and further determine and explain the parameters to the record staff. So as I said before, any official notices for the legal hold must be in writing, whether it's physical or electronic. We're going to normally recommend an email, and they should be sent out to all employees at all applicable levels, but especially records officers and coordinators who are able to further distribute that news. These notices have to specifically identify what materials the legal hold covers. The notice should instruct that the destruction of these materials has to stop immediately, and it should explain what is to be preserved, how to do it, and where. If these records are going to be under a legal hold for a long time, it may instruct you to move them to a storage room for long-term storage. IT personnel and/or STS must be similarly notified so that all relevant electronic data that is under their supervision can be preserved. When legal holds are applied, try to establish automated processes and rules for the records where possible. We like to encourage people to eliminate manual processing of these records because it reduces the likelihood of their accidental destruction. Even if all your staff has been told about a legal hold, if they're still manually having to set these records aside because they happen to know that they're under legal hold, that's asking for somebody to forget and put it in a destruction bin. So we recommend a automated process that will identify these ahead of time without somebody having to just know off the top of their head that it's under a legal hold. You should document any and all steps that you take to try to preserve these documents, digital information, data, and other materials under the legal hold. This is also to protect you so that if anything does go wrong, you can show this documentation to say, hey, we were taking these steps to make sure that this is done correctly. This is also used to ensure that you are complying with legal hold, and it's your safety net against accusations of doing things improperly. So continuing actions, these are things that you're going to want to continue doing over the lifespan of the legal hold. First off, be sure to track any changes in employees over the course of the litigation that requires a legal hold. Because sometimes a person will come or go from an agency during the process of legal hold coming down, and you don't want any confusion over whether the records that they used to manage might be involved, and then nobody knows what to do with them. If litigation is happening that affects your division, and you know that a legal hold might come down as a result of that, just make sure you're taking note of who comes and goes and what they might manage as far as records. Litigation and legal hold specifically can take months or even years, and often steps must be taken to preserve both the records of outgoing employees and how to instruct new employees about the legal hold in addition to their other duties. It's going to be a lot of training for someone who comes in new, but they still have to be made aware of any active legal hold so that they don't throw something out on accident. All involved personnel should be educated about their ongoing responsibilities pertaining to legal holds and updated with any changes in their requirements, including additional modifications to or expiration of legal holds. You should be sure to account for any changes in how your agency manages data, such as software updates or transfers, to ensure that nothing is lost. We don't want to lose records under legal hold for any reason, including changes in business practices. So to summarize, there's a number of main goals whenever a legal hold is placed. First and foremost, all data so that it can be produced as required by any court, auditors, or requesters who have necessitated the legal hold. We also want to accomplish this with a process that is thorough and cost-effective, as well as well-documented to ensure the highest quality management of these records. Once a legal hold is lifted, we want to properly and systematically destroy the materials according to their appropriate retention schedule, which is detailed in our RDA documents. A lot of times, once a legal hold is lifted, there will be months or even years worth of records that are past destruction that will now be able to be destroyed. So we tend to see large orders for destruction immediately after legal holds come up. That's normal. So if you have any questions, please call or email your records analyst, and we'll be happy to clarify any matters of records management for you. As a reminder, keep an eye out for the email that will tell you when the fall PD. We will send that out as soon as we have it, and any information for RDA cutoff dates before then. That's all from records management for today. So thank you for your time and have a good day.